January 2020, I signed a deal with Under Armour, signed a deal with HYROX. I had all this going on, and it all went away.
Kenny was an influencer before influencers was a thing. Kenny was Jersey Shore before Jersey Shore was cool.
It's like if you're not making $5 million a year, you're a loser. Hundreds of millions, billions of dollars. You can't run out of that money unless you're a f***ing moron. You know, most podcasts die in the first 10 episodes. We're going to film 10 before we put anything out. 10 became 20, 20 became 40, 40 became 60, 80. We're over 100 episodes now. The first 2 years I had the podcast cost me about close to $50,000. So I'm paying to go do all this that now people pay me for. I went through a 2-year lawsuit with that shit. I'm standing in the mirror and I'm like, God, I'm so fat. Like I was sharing belts and pants with my dad. Every finish line I've ever crossed, I'm like, oh, if I could do this physically, then business and all this other shit is easy. It's not going to be easy. So tighten your boots up and get ready.
So I'm really excited today to welcome a special guest. Kenny I think it's a phenomenal story. It's going to be fun to dig into, but Kenny was also in New York, kind of as we all do, go in and out of modes of fitness. But I was getting back into fitness, and I started doing I think it was a 5 a.m. or 5:30 a.m. class at Solace, and Kenny was my instructor, group instructor, guy from Jersey, just yelling at us at 5:30 with music blaring.
We had a packed class.
Yeah.
Every day for like, what, 2-3 years? Easy? Yeah.
So Kenny is the full roller coaster. Kenny was an influencer before influencers was a thing. It was Road Rules?
I was on MTV, yeah.
MTV for how long were you on? How many? Because you did a bunch of the challenges.
I probably did 9 of them over the course of almost like 10 years.
And that was like, when was that? When was the first one you did?
Oh, I mean, for most of you internet fans out there, the internet wasn't a thing. I actually have videotapes, like cassette tapes of when I was on TV. So that's what they would give us at the end of the season, was like, oh, here's a VHS that you could pop in the VCR. And most of you guys don't even know what the hell that is. And you could watch the episode.
Kenny was Jersey Shore before Jersey Shore was cool.
And I hosted the first Jersey Shore after show too.
Did you really?
Yeah.
So you were on for how many years?
I got on in I think I filmed my first show. God, this is when you know you're getting old because of years bleed together. It was like 2004, 2005. Yeah, 2005 was like my first show. And then I think I did my last one in 2011, 2012, somewhere around there. And I did 9 shows. I did one and never really would have thought it was going to be anything. And then it was like, they kept calling me back. And I'm like, people are, why do they keep calling you back? I'm like, I don't know. I'm not that interesting of a guy. At least I didn't think I was. But I kept getting called back, and one thing led to another. And I always saw it as a launch pad to do other things. Like I always wanted to act or host or do something like that. As a young kid growing up in New Jersey, I had nothing. I'm like, man, this would be really cool if I got to do this. I was never even on a plane before I got on the show.
Let me pause here for a second. This show is brought to you by Propel. They find brands like yours exceptional marketing and operational talent in the US, Latin Am markets, and beyond. For now, the links are in the show notes, and all of our listeners get 10% off your first hire. Okay, let's get into it.
So like the first time I ever got flown across the country was to go and do one of the interviews for the show. So I was like
just sending a cassette. And that was like back in the days where like figuring these things out was actually really difficult.
Yeah.
Because like it wasn't like you could just look it up online and there was like you actually had to do a lot of work.
Yeah, you didn't go to somebody's Instagram page and be like, oh, they're running castings or something. I was dating a girl who's doing it. So she's like, oh, let's drive up to Syracuse and try out for this show. And we did it. One thing led to another and I got on TV. But like I talk about that a lot in fitness. When I was 13 years old was when I joined my first gym. And this was 1995, 1996, somewhere around there. To learn how to go to the gym or train, you had to grab a magazine or a book.
Well, and you talk about this a lot. Like you were pretty out of shape as a kid. Like you were, hate to use the F word, but you were a little fat.
No, I was definitely fat. And I feel fat right now because after this injury, I really haven't, this is the longest I haven't done something in a while, but I have this giant gash on my arm. So they're like, you can't get infected. So try not to sweat or do anything. So this is the longest I've gone without doing anything. And I feel disgusting right now. So your trajectory in fitness started when you were 13. You just started going to the gym when you were 13.
Yeah. What was kind of the thing that got you like to say like, I got to get in the gym at that age?
I think everyone remembers where they were when they decided to make a change in their life. And I was at my parents' house. I was obviously 13, so I didn't have my own place. I'm standing in the mirror. I'm about to go to like an 8th grade birthday party. And I looked at myself and I'm like, God, I'm so fat. Like I was sharing belts and pants with my dad. And I was like, I hate myself. I'm so uncomfortable. I need to change this. And I was like, the only gyms around were like $12, $15 a month gyms. And they were like 20 minutes away. So when I joined the gym, I was like, I don't know what to do. So I just grabbed like Muscle and Fitness, Men's Health, like shit like that. I would steal these magazines from like magazine stands.
So like back in the day, Men's Health had like the workouts.
Yeah.
So you literally get the workouts. Yeah.
Yeah. It's come full circle because for a long period of time, they were doing like CrossFit workouts and stuff in these magazines. Now it's back to like bodybuilding splits. So I was doing these bodybuilding splits, but for Christmas, I think I was like 15 or 16. My parents got me the Arnold Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding.
Yes.
And I'm like, that was like my Bible.
I had that too. Yeah.
I read everything in there from cover to cover. I was like, I got to understand what they're doing, why they're doing it. And then you watch movies like, I mean, we grew up in a very similar generation. It was like The Predator and Rocky and, all these movies.
The bodybuilders were at the apex of like the society at that point. Yeah.
Like you had to be jacked. Like I was watching wrestling all the time and I'm like, everybody's jacked. I got to get jacked. So I was like, what are these guys doing? They're going to the gym. They're eating tuna fish out of the can. They're drinking gallons of milk. I'm like, I'm just going to start doing this shit.
So so the arc is we go get into fitness, then go into MTV, do that. You leave MTV. And then there was this like span of like, kind of not really kind of moving upward or like hitting your career goals. Like walk us through kind of the trajectory post MTV.
Yeah.
Because what I want to get to is like, I think you're absolutely, since I've gotten to know you, your career trajectory has just been like up and to the right. I know it doesn't probably always feel that way, but from an outsider perspective, it's looked like that.
Yeah. So right after, or I was still kind of dabbling in television stuff and doing commercials and shit like that. But when I got into the training stuff, I actually got hired to be a firefighter. So out of college, my dad's like, you got to take the civil service test for New Jersey. He wanted me to be a cop or a fireman. If my dad had it his way, that's what I would have done. I didn't want to do that. No offense to anybody who does that. My brother's a cop. It just wasn't for me. It wasn't like what I wanted to do. I just felt like there's a lot of parameters around those jobs. I didn't want to do that. I'm like, I could do so much more with my life. So I got hired to be on the fire department and I was just like, I remember standing there in lineup and just being like, fuck, this is going to be the rest of my life. Like this sucks. So at that point I had to double down on like either doing that or going to the gym. I had an opportunity a couple of years before that to partner with some people to open up a gym in New Jersey. So I did that in like 2012, 2013. That went sour. I really didn't know anything about business. There was nobody I could really ask either. Like my dad was a cop. My mom worked for an insurance company. She didn't really know what the fuck was going on. So there's nobody I knew, like could really talk to. I remember signing paperwork and shit, pretty much signing my life away. But I went through a 2-year lawsuit with that gym. And then the guys from Solace called me up and they asked me to go there. And when I created that class, that allowed me to start to generate some money. Now, the problem was that the business was so in debt that they couldn't afford to pay me what they need to pay me. So now we started talking about like me owning part of the gym. So this kind of rigmarole kicked the can down the road for years. It's like, do we give them 5% or 10%? What's that mean for the rest of everybody else involved? And they kicked out the original owners. It was this whole big thing. Fast forward, 2020 happens. Now we're at this precipice. It's like, do we keep it open? Do we close it? I'm like, I'm not waiting around for this shit. It was literally, I think they shut down New York in March of 2015, 2016. I think the 17th or 18th, I carried 2 kettlebells, a TRX, and a jump rope to the park. And I'm like, I'm just going to do the only thing I know how to do. It's work out. So I started working out, people walking by being like, hey, could I join you? I had a bunch of people call me up. Hey, could I join? Could I join? And one thing led to another. And that's how I started the 2 gyms I have now, was on the back of doing all that.
Do you feel like hindsight, like the 2020 was like the like that made you were forced to do it because like there was no gyms. And then, but it gave you the confidence to be like, I could do this myself.
Well, I think what I tell a lot of people is what gave me the confidence to really like jump into business more was all the shit I did physically. Being fat and awkward as a kid, not being confident, not thinking I could do anything. Like I was afraid of everything. You know, the first time I got beat up, I was like 7 or 8 years old, and I got beat up at 11. And I'm like, that was another thing. I'm like, fuck this. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to be able to defend myself. I'm going to get stronger. And that's why I started wrestling in high school and college. So for me, it was just like, I know what it's like when people are like, oh, the world's against me. I feel, and we all do. I'm not special in any way. So I just looked at it like the only person who could help me get out of this is me. So I had to figure it out. You know, my parents were broke. We had nothing. I grew up in Newark, New Jersey. We had nothing. So when people are like, oh, you had so much privilege, I'm like, I'm still waiting for this fucking shit to show up. It has not shown its face yet. So the only reason we moved out of Newark was because it got so bad that my mother was like, we can't do this anymore. Yeah. And so for me, I'm like, okay, I just need to help myself. And now it's like, if I could help myself, I can now help other people with this same thing. But I think doing, you know, stepping onto a mat for the first time wrestling was very scary for me. You know, going on the challenge and like competing in a lot of stuff for the first time, you're like standing off the edge of a cliff or hanging out the side of a helicopter or whatever we were doing. You're like, fuck, man, I've never done this shit before. Like I was never that guy. So a lot of that stuff, I was just like, fuck it, I'm going to prove to myself that I could do it. And that's when I started doing Ironmans and marathons and, you know, competing in other competitions and doing CrossFit. Like everything I did was to prove to myself that I could do it. And every finish line I've ever crossed, I'm like, oh, if I could do this physically, then business and all this other shit's easy.
Yeah.
You know? So if you're willing to torture yourself through workouts and shit like that.
Yeah, the more hard things you do in life, the easier the next hard thing is to do.
Yeah.
So like, but if you live like a very protected life, it's very difficult to do hard things. And the only way to start getting comfortable with doing hard things is like, just you get, and that's what I always tell people is like, it's never easy. You get used to like being like, okay, I'll figure it out. Mm-hmm. But like, you know, it's still, I don't care who you are. It's like you start something new. You're like you know, there's butterflies. There's like, we're going to figure this out.
I was just telling somebody this story the other day. I've been in the fitness industry since I was 13 years old. And I've been going to supplement stores and buying shit forever. And I said they're like, oh, we're going to start this supplement line and blah, blah. I go, it's not as easy as you think. I go, you know how many how many supplement brands Arnold Schwarzenegger had that have failed? You don't even know about them. He was involved in so many brands. They all fallen apart. He's now a part of a brand called Momentous. He's been pushing the Momentous up. I go, but it's not a guarantee. And he's the most, you know, if you look at the food chain of fitness people, I mean, Arnold's still at the top.
Yeah.
It doesn't guarantee you're going to win.
Yeah.
You have to work hard. I have learned time and time again, 1, you never burn a bridge, and 2, it's not going to be easy. So fucking tighten your boots up and get ready.
Yeah, one, I was excited to get you on because we haven't caught up a little while. So I was excited to hear, and we're going to dig into kind of, I think some of the stuff you're building in the fitness community in New York has been phenomenal. Mm-hmm. But I can say like as a user of your product, which is your fitness classes, is like, you deliver an amazing product. Your energy levels every day. Like I was taking the 5 a.m. class. You were like every day, like rain or sleet, you were in there. And then your advocacy, like people would show up and they like, some people recognize, but like the reason people came back to that class, the reason when you left, people left with you, the reason people continue is like your classes are amazing. Your energy levels, your fitness, your like you do a great job. And I think that's where people kind of sometimes like want the shortcut is like, you got to do the hard work. You got to become somewhat of the expert in the thing you're doing. And that's just reps. That's just like a lot of reps. But I can personally say as like someone who's followed you around is like, you know, I love your classes. I love like that. And like from fitness, you know, I saw so many people that you inspired, you know, and not through like your Instagram, which is also great, but like you inspired people in the class and you challenge and you talk shit to everyone. And like, but you got a lot of people in that class that were like completely out of shape that transformed over the few years I was there to be like amazing shape.
Well, I'll tell you what, I attribute it to the fact that I genuinely enjoy watching people win. And I think you have to do that in any arena. Like, you know, you're like, you just said, you're like, I want to help open 10,000 businesses. You want to do that because now you feel like you're a part of that journey. It's almost like having a kid, right? I haven't had a kid, but I'm guessing the fact that like you're watching this younger version of you win. You know, and you want that and you back somebody up on that. So for me, it's like with my coaches, with my gyms, with other people, if I can watch other people win, then that enriches my life so much more. So when I'm in a classroom and I'm inspiring you guys to work harder than you normally would, like that fucking lights me up. I don't care if it's 4 p.m. or 5 a.m. It doesn't matter. Like I like seeing people get after it. It gets me supercharged.
And then within that, you started like, so you, and I think this is like also a great thing. Like you've been a champion of like, as you said, not only like people in your class, but peers, different people in the industry. And New York is a big town, but it's also a small town within different aspects of New York. And so like you, and I think, you know, when you guys, I would say like when Solace was at its peak, it was kind of the epicenter of we had some of the best trainers in New York at that facility. It was pretty amazing to just see the level of talent in there. But then that ecosystem you kind of turned into now one of the biggest one of the biggest fitness events and walk us through kind of the transformation into that.
Well, I had access to a lot of these great people who I thought were giving out so much great information, and they do, right? Like somebody like Gabrielle Lyons, I met very early on, and she was the one who kind of like, this was like 2014, 2015, was teaching me, she was my doctor, and she was teaching me about like the importance of muscle tissue and I'm like, oh my God, really? I'm like, I feel like there was something to this. Like I didn't know the science behind it, but I'm like, yeah, that makes total sense to me. Like I'd rather look like, you know, my father and Arnold Schwarzenegger are the same age. So I'm like, I'd rather look like him than my dad. And what's the only difference in their physique? The fact that Arnold works out and my dad doesn't do shit. So I'm like, I'd rather look like that and follow that rule, kind of lifestyle. But with a lot of these people that I was meeting, I go, oh my God, if I could get them to come to New York and teach the people that I care about, you know, enrich my community so that everybody around me is winning. So that makes me feel like I'm winning, right? Like, if you were like, all right, name the 5 guys you want to go have a fucking beer with, would any of them be losers? No, right? You want your friends to be winning. So I'm like, if I could help my friends win, why wouldn't I do that? If I could help my staff win, then that makes me win as well. Because if, you know, me and my buddy joke around about it all the time. He's like, oh, when I buy my boat, I'm like, dude, I hope you buy the boat. I want you to buy it because I never want to fucking own a boat because that sounds like a miserable experience. It's fun for about 3 hours.
Yes, you just get to go on once a year.
I'm like, I don't want to own a boat, but I want to help you own a boat.
So walk us through kind of like when because you went from, so you leave Solace, you start your own gym.
Yeah.
And then pretty soon right after that, or I think right around the same time, you start creating this platform, which walk us through kind of like the idea, inspiration of the next steps to kind of building this.
Yeah. So, I mean, the event I started in 2015, 2016.
Okay. So the event was going, okay.
Yeah, it was going on, but it was smaller. We used to hold it in the basement of Solace. It was easy. And then 2019 was the first year we partnered with HYROX, and we did it at Pier 94, which doesn't even exist anymore. So we had a HYROX going on and Strong New York at the same time. We had all these big plans for 2020 and the fucking world fell apart. I literally, January 2020, I signed a deal with Under Armour, signed a deal with HYROX. I had all this shit going on and it all went away. So now I'm like stressing the fuck out. But anyway, I was like, I'm just going to teach classes. And every morning I would get up at 6 o'clock. I'd carry all this shit over to the park on 28th and 10th Avenue. And just started running workouts out of the park for months. And I remember, I was just telling this story the other day to my mom. I had like a push cart, and I got like a heavy duty push cart, and I had kettlebells on there and dumbbells. That shit weighs a ton. It's not easy to push that stuff. Plus the streets in New York are not very well paved, as you can imagine. So the wheel fell off the push cart. So now I got to carry all this shit back and forth. And it took me like an hour. Thank God some of the people from the class showed up, and I was like, hey, you guys want to help me grab some of this shit? But now I'm on, 10th Avenue carrying kettlebells and ropes and all this shit. But I remember being like, okay, I'm going to build a gym and I'm never going to have to do this shit again. Now I still do it because I do events and shit, but not because I have to build a gym every day. But it's, you know, it's what I love. It's the only thing I want to do. It's the only place I want to go. And then when I started doing this, because I had the television background and I used to do all the hosting stuff, I wanted to scratch the itch of doing this, doing a podcast or something. So as we started to grow the social side of things, like my Instagram, the Strong New York Instagram, I started toying with the idea of starting a podcast. So I said to Christy, I was like, hey, try to find a studio somewhere in Midtown where we could go and shoot a podcast. So I said, and we were looking up statistics on it. It's like, if you don't do, you know, most podcasts die in the first 10 episodes.
10 episodes. We just saw the stats on that as well. It's like, got to get to 10 episodes.
Yeah. So I was like, we're going to film 10 before we put anything out. So I filmed 10 with like guys I knew and people I knew in the industry, and 10 became 20, 20 became 40, 40 became 60, 80. We're over 100 episodes now. Yeah. But I have a whole media side of the business now because that helps us. And I think everybody's doing it. It's not like we're unique, but we started to see like, hey, we work with Celsius. Celsius, it sponsors me as a personality or person or influencer. I don't want to say I'm a fucking athlete because I'm 43. But so me and then the podcast and then the event. So we were like, oh shit, we could kind of stretch this out with a lot of the brands that we work with. They could help us push the podcast, which will help us push the guests that we have at the event or their podcast or whatever it is. We're pushing a book. So it's this ecosystem that we've now created. So I have a whole media team. So Strong New York is like, there's this media arm of it.
And then Strong New York was just like one of the top Forbes or Fortune, one of the Forbes ranked it one of the top fitness
events.
Events.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
Yeah, I saw that too. And I was like, I don't know who the fuck did that. But I'm like, yeah, that was great. I remember somebody sent it to me and I was like, great.
But awesome. I remember I was in the gym on the 2019 because that was like that was your baby. You were pushing it. It was like, that was like the whole.
That's all I did.
Yeah. And then I remember obviously like everyone else, like COVID shut down the world. And then that like, but this event has just got massive. And it's been, I think this is like the exciting thing about this era that we're in right now is that like, you know, you're like into fitness. You've been into fitness since you were 13. But you can now just create your own platform. You can literally like by just being really into something, you can create multiple different revenue streams and kind of build the life you want where you're doing the thing you want to do. You know, as you said, driving towards the outcome of looking like Arnold versus your dad, like all these things kind of combining and then, you know, being able to monetize it and doing the things you love. Let me pause here for a second and introduce you to our title sponsor, Propel. Every business I've built has had a huge piece with international talent. And as we started building the Advantage, we wanted to bring in international talent focused around media, podcasts, and we started doing a lot of research and we came across Propel. And we were really excited, first and foremost, to use them for us. And we later reach out as a sponsor. Here's the best part. It's all performance-based. You only pay one-off fee once you actually hire someone. That means no retainers, no ongoing costs, plus every hire comes with a 3-month guarantee. I think bringing on international talent is really hard, really rewarding. As we all know, bringing a talent onto your team is the most important part about building a business. And with Propel, I can speak for ourselves. They have been a huge part of our ability to recruit great talent to our team. Every Advantage listener gets 10% off their first hire. For more information, check out the show notes.
I remember talking to my guidance counselor in college, and I was an art major in college, which most people find hard to believe. But I grew up drawing. I love comic books and all that shit. I've had 3 different t-shirt companies, none of them which have done well. But I remember saying, I'm like, what could I do where I could be in the gym?
But you do have a 6 shirt there. The Strong New York.
My new stuff.
This is some good swag.
Because I pay fucking a ton of different artists. I was actually just talking to like a New York City. All my gyms have artwork in them. Like I pay graffiti artists and stuff to do artwork in all my gyms. The last one that I did in Jersey, I don't even want to tell you how much I spent on it. But the idea was that it was a CrossFit gym before that. And they took a bunch of like wooden planks and panels and just threw them up against the wall because there was all the holes in the sheetrock and stuff. So I had a guy come in. I was like, all right, we ripped down all this wood and the sheetrock and stuff. How much is this going to cost me? The guy's like, 20 grand, 30 grand, and we'll paint it and all this. And I was like, so I hit this guy up. I'm down the shore that night. I was in Jersey, and I saw this sick mural at this restaurant called The Block. And I was like, I saw this guy's name at the bottom, and I saw his Instagram handle, and I hit him up. I was like, hey, man, I got this wall at my gym. I'd love for you to do it. Hit me up. We figured out a price, which was crazy, but I'm like, it's less than me paying these guys to re-sheetrock it. This guy came in, fucking graffiti the whole thing. It was so sick. It was one of the best moves I made. It's like the experience of like, okay, I could have a sheetrock wall, or I could put in a piece of artwork, which I think will be so much cooler. And it's now the staple of that. Like I see it in videos and pictures that my team puts up, and I'm like, that looks so much cooler than a sheetrocked wall.
This swag's all. I got my Strong NYC black hoodie that it's my go-to black hoodie.
I got to send you some more stuff because I love seeing it in the wild.
It's so good.
If I see somebody with my shit on,
I get more compliments on that sweatshirt and I'm like, they're like, where'd you get that? I'm like, I got it at the gym. So you've now built like all these, and you have 2 gyms now. Those of you in your 28th and 5th.
28th and 5th, yeah.
28th and 5th. And the gym name is
the Strength Club.
The Strength Club.
Yeah.
And then you're in where in Jersey?
Caldwell.
Where's Caldwell?
It's over by like a little little west of Montclair.
All right. So those of you in the Montclair, that's the gym to go to. Yeah. But if you're in New York, if you're visiting New York, you got to hit up the gym. I'm telling you, it is the best experience. You were at Union Park, which is a little too long of a walk, but I just found out I'm going to be at this gym. I'm going back.
Please come excited. Back. I'd love to have you. It's funny because one of my clients said the other day, they were like, you've really had a lot of huge people come to the gym. I was training Bon Jovi for a while. I had some of the Knicks there. I still have some of those guys there. The other day we had a bunch of the WWE people. So it's like I get a good group of people where some people show up sometimes. They're like, why are they here?
Well, Bon Jovi, that's like Bon Jovi, and then you have Bruce Springsteen are like the 2 peaks for a Jersey guy.
For a Jersey guy. I mean, I like honestly, who needs a fucking gym, and I'd love to get a hold of him is Billy Joel.
Oh yeah.
Because he's had some
he's a Long Island
close calls. Yeah, he's a Long Island guy. Yeah.
That's my neck of the woods. Yeah, he has. So you built all these revenue streams. You built all these things. Like, but we were talking earlier. Now you feel like you're like, what do you think? Like, as you kind of think about the building, what does the 10-year journey look like for you? I
mean, the world is so volatile now.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Right when we were younger, I didn't know anybody who made $500,000 a year. Now it's like if you're not making $5 million a year, you're a loser, right? Like it's insane. Like I was listening to one of my clients works for Meta, but I was listening to Joe Rogan's podcast, and they were talking about Zuckerberg was saying that he hired a bunch of people, all these 20-something-year-olds.
Yeah.
And the average salary of one of these kids who works for Meta, they're obviously like the AI programmers and stuff, is like $65 million a year.
Yeah, he hired a few guys. But I also think, I think New York is very expensive, but I also think like a little bit of like what you're benchmarking to. Mm-hmm. Like, Instagram's all bullshit, right? So I'm making $20 million a year is like bullshit. But that's what sells. So I think like what I can say from like certainly getting the exit or whatever is like, and everyone will tell you this. It's like the problems don't stop, and it's like you realize like it's just like, but it's
another hurdle.
Yeah, there's always other hurdle. Yeah. The journey's always like the thing you will enjoy the most. Hindsight is just looking at the journey and being like, dude, I just think that in the building, not only do you find so much joy out of it, but like you learn so much. Like you probably don't even take time to sit back and learn over the last 5 years since you stepped out and brought your bag. Like all of the different shit you've learned from opening gyms, from as simple as how much it costs to re-drywall a wall and like all these things that you're like, oh yeah, like I've learned a lot from the School of Hard Knocks. And this is the best advice I could give to anybody who wants to build a business. I'm an idiot. I was never good at school. I can never pay attention. I don't know anything about business. I still don't, but realizing that you don't know these things is the most important thing, and asking for help and having a good team around you, because there are so many times where I could have made a left
And I ended up making it right because I asked for the help. You know, there's a lot of people. I'm very humble about what I know and what I don't know. And I've learned a lot, but at the same time, there's still so much to understand about business. Now you can't just be a business owner. You're a business owner. You're a social media expert. You're a dad. You wear 12 different hats. Like, I look at somebody who's a parent. I avoid that at all costs because that becomes a whole other fucking job. That's more important than your real job.
It does, yes.
You know? So now you're responsible for more lives, which is crazy. You know, so I admire anybody who's building a business, has a family, and you're actually present. Right?
What do you think? So because I cut you off earlier, what do you think that success journey looks like for you? What do you want to keep building? And like, where, now that you're like, you've got the bus is rolling. What do you think? Like,
I've never been, like I said, I have zero desire to own a boat or fancy cars or even a home, right? Like, I like coming home. There is nothing I love more than my peace. Like, when I want to be alone, I just want to be left the fuck alone. I took my nephews this weekend to Fanatics Fest, and then we went to Saturday night's main event. And when I dropped them off, I was like, thank God that nightmare is over. I'll do it again next week, but not anytime soon. It's a lot of work. I think people like nowadays use kids and families as accessories. Like, it'll add to my level of success. It's like, no, until you're ready to do it, don't do it. One. Two, it's like, for me, I want to be able to help other people make money. I'm still not at the point where I'd like to be, where I can't fathom the amount of wealth that certain people have, hundreds of millions, billions of dollars. You can't run out of that money unless you're a fucking moron. You can't really run out of that money. So like, after you get to a certain number, and I don't know what that is, I'm guessing somewhere along the lines of $50, $60 million. Like, you don't really, I wouldn't worry that much if you have a good investment team. I would love, like, I admire somebody like Shaq. Like, you see Shaq walk into like a Walmart or something, he buys everybody's shit. Like, dude, with the amount of billionaires and millionaires in the city, that should happen more often. Yeah. It's like, what are you hoarding your money? I've never seen somebody put in a casket holding hundreds.
Yeah.
The bank gets it if you don't spend it. Yeah. So give it the fuck away.
I do think, have you seen some of this stuff that's happening with the Trump accounts? So have you heard about the Trump accounts? And then these, and they're named the Trump accounts, but so he said, which is a brilliant idea. He set up these accounts, which basically is that when you're born, and if you're born between, I think 25 and 28, you get $1,000 and it's invested in the S&P 500. And then but now what people can do is they can donate directly into this. So Michael Dell, I think, donated $5 billion into this, and it basically goes directly to these kids. But now it's getting compounded and invested. The COO, Glenn, Shadwell of SpaceX, just donated $350 million. So all of these, so I think the next pledge is going to be going in there, which I'm a huge fan of, because you go there and you basically, it's going back into, underprivileged kids to basically say hey, here's I think there's because I agree with you. I think this idea, you're not taking it with you, but also there's a certain point, but giving into these charities, I don't know if that's the best thing either. That was my next point was, yes, I'm a big fan of helping people out and giving money away and all this stuff. And those acts of kindness go a long way, because then you want that person to pass it forward, right? Moving on. However, when people don't have a purpose, it becomes a problem. Yeah. Without a purpose, there's a problem. So we need to help people find what they love to do. And I think the school system's broken because of that. Had somebody have taken me out of English class and just been hey, why don't we push you to do more of this drawing that you like to do? Because then this will be something that that drives you and you're excited about. I think there should be more of that. More art focus. It's like a kid who likes playing guitar, likes banging on shit, let him play drums. There needs to be more curated, purposeful. It's good, but I took years of math, geometry, and algebra. I couldn't fucking tell you any of that shit right now. It was a waste of my time. Well, I mean, I think you gotta I would say I think the biggest thing is I think K through 12th, I think the biggest gap and the challenge we've had is everyone's got to go to college. And this has been like, I think so now you've got, half the country massively in debt, and they got a degree in some, whatever your worthless degree is in liberal arts, whatever it is. And now you're like, I got $200,000 in debt. I can't get a job. And I think like the better thing is like, get people into the workforce earlier, get people learning, and get people to get real tactical skills. Cause I do think there's a million ways to make money. There's a million ways. Again, one of the, like, he's not one of the richest, but certainly this guy's worth that north of 100 million. I met early in my life, rancher. He got early into, and I literally shit you not, this is not buying manure and then selling manure as natural fertilizer. And he became in the ranching world. And now he's worth several hundred million because he would just basically, it's free material because everyone's got to get rid of manure on ranches and any of these things. And then it's natural fertilizer. So he built in this business. So literally you can make millions doing, like I always like to say, selling shit.
Yeah.
And like, it's just like, but like this guy, had an 8th grade education, but just started doing this. So like, you don't need a lot of education to go out and sell shit.
No, but that's my point. Like there are kids who are, my niece and nephews watch other kids online make millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars playing video games.
Yeah.
These kids have YouTube channels. It's mind-blowing to me because the last thing I want to do is watch anybody play a video game. But my niece and nephews will sit there, watch YouTube of other kids playing video games, and I'm looking and it's like 700 million follows and subscribers and shit. And you're like, what? Well, this kid's making millions of dollars.
Yeah.
It's insane doing something they enjoy doing.
Yeah. And I think what you're seeing in this is opportunity is like the old, like when you started on MTV, MTV owned, like, so you didn't have the ability to connect directly to the audience. So your ability to reconnect with the audience was get back on another show and get back on another show and to become a talent for MTV. But now you realize like, okay, you can become your own talent. You have your own distribution. You can build your own audience. Your audience comes to you. So you don't need to reach everyone. You need to reach a very small niche. And I would say, like, I think the biggest opportunity, and I think where we've jumped the shark is that it used to be create a product and then hire someone to market it. Now it's become the marketing engine, and then you can create the product.
Sure.
So like you're seeing as you've now built this media marketing, it's that then now is the influence to get people to come to your gym. It's the influence to get people to come to your events. And then you get sponsorships, and now like the flywheel like works so much better.
Well, because if you have $1 billion company like this, right? Celsius is like, why am I going to pay for a billboard in Times Square? We can, or we could spend $50 million, give it to all these influencers, and it'll have more of an impact than that billboard will.
Yeah, and you'll get get recuts and re-image.
And they're doing all the advertisement for you. Like when I start every episode, hey guys, we're cracking Kansas Celsius open and having a conversation. It's simple, it's easy, and it's like I'm doing their marketing for them.
Yeah, and
for way less than what it would be if they were to do some other.
It's more
traditional.
And then your target audience is their targeted customer, right? Like the people listening to your podcast are ultimately exactly who they want to get in front of.
And I say this to people all the time. I go, Pepsi or Coke doesn't need a billboard in Times Square, but they want to be at the forefront of your mind. So anytime somebody's like, I could go for a Coke right now. It's like, because you just saw the sign. It's not because you're like starving for some sugar in your mouth. So
if someone's watching this podcast today and they're like looking for, you at 2020, like what's advice you give to someone or you do give to people who are saying, I want to do something in fitness, in anything.
Yeah. You learn to love it, because no matter what industry you're in, people look at influencing and influencers and say, oh, I want to do that. The people that I know who really make money from being influencers work their ass off. It's not easy. You're constantly cutting content. And even if you have a team with it, you have to okay things. You have to make sure things are going right. So I never want to lose track of the thing. And the thing was always training. Like that's what grounds me. That's where my expertise is. That's what I've done for a very long time. So when people are like, what do you do? I'm a trainer. Yeah, but don't you own businesses and all that? I'm sure. But it all started from me being a trainer. So that's what I do on a day-to-day basis. I try to stay as connected to the gyms as possible. but don't go into it being like, oh, I'm going to eventually leave this. Everybody thinks they're going to have this massive exit, and it's very rare that happens. So for me, I'm like, if I die in the gym, which all my stuff says, all my shit says dying in the gym on it, right? Or bury me in the gym, is because I'm like, this is what I've agreed to do till the day I die. I want to be in a gym every day. I don't care where I am. I was in France, I went to the gym. I was in Dubai, I went to the gym. I was in Italy, I went to the gym. It doesn't matter where I am in the world. I want to go to the gym. So that's like my thing. If I cut content in the gym, if I'm training somebody in the gym, I'm always trying out new equipment, whatever I'm doing, it's all focused around the gym. And when people are like, well, I don't want to do that forever. It's like, well, then go find something that you want to do forever, because it's going to get hard. It's going to get tough. And that's going to be the breaking point, because even if I didn't make $1 from this, I'd still be in the gym.
And I think that's also the key is like, I always say this is like, I don't feel like I work. Like I sold my business. I was back at, cause I love what I do. Like I love business. I love doing that. Like I love which a lot of people don't. My twin brother are exact opposite. Like his life, I would hate, he would hate mine, but I love what I'm doing. So like I get up every morning fired up to go into the office. I'm fired up. And I think the key is I don't feel like I'm working. And that's to your, like, find something that you're passionate about, that you want to do every day.
That you would do for free if you weren't getting paid.
Because this is what, like, I think, and there's a great book out there I reference all the time, but it's really good. It's like The 5 Wealths, which is obvious when you slow down and think about it. But like, the easiest wealth that everyone focuses on is monetary, right? It's just like how much money you making. Oh, these guys are making. It's like, it's the easiest thing to kind of benchmark yourself to. But really, it's probably, I would say, it's certainly out of the 5, it's very much not the number 1, because I like a quick test is like, okay, Warren Buffett walks in this room, right? Warren Buffett, I think is 92, something like that. And Warren Buffett sits in and he says, Kenny, I'm going to give you all of my money. But when I do that, we switch ages. So you become my age, I become yours. You would say absolutely not. Now, he would gladly make that trade. So time is our biggest wealth, right? So it is, and I think as you get, you are plus or minus the same age, as you realize like time is your biggest wealth. Yeah. And then so time is like, what are you doing with the time? And if you're like, so if you're doing something that you would pay to do anyways, and I always tell people is like, try to choose something that if you weren't making money, you would pay to do. You'd be paying money to be in the gym. You'd be paying someone to be like, I want to, and so like people are, so even on the downside, if you're not making a ton, you're getting paid to do the thing you do. Yeah. And that's the magical thing. I always tell people is like, don't focus on the outcome, focus on the process. What do you want to do? Become an expert at it. Every day, wake up doing what you're doing. And then at the end of it, like no matter what the outcome is, you win.
Well, the first 2 years I had the podcast cost me about close to $50,000. We didn't make $1 from it. It was only in the last like 6-7 months that we started making money from it. But I would do this for free. The amount of people I've trained for free, the gyms I've built for free, the trips I've taken to go to other gyms or to go to other events, I paid for. So I'm paying to go do all this shit that now people pay me for. So I think you need to understand that that's one of the things that makes you good at what you do is like, are you willing to invest in other people's things that you love? I have 4 gym memberships in New York City and 2 in New Jersey. And people are like, why do you pay for all these gyms? I go, that's like saying I own this restaurant and I could only eat at my restaurant. That's the way I look at gyms. I'm going to go every day. Why do I want to go to the same place every day? I'm going to work there for 6 hours. Why do I want to go and spend another hour there? I'm going to go to somebody else's gym, support somebody else's business. And then what I love about the gym is the gym culture. I'll bullshit with somebody. We'll talk about equipment. It makes it more enjoyable for me to like try other stuff. So I do that everywhere all the time, no matter what. And I pay for it or I get it for free or it's what I want to do. People always think the best thing in life is when you sell your business or you have the ability to step away from your business and let it run itself. And now you're in fucking Cancun drinking margaritas. I don't care to drink margaritas ever. If I've never had another margarita again in my life, it'd be too soon. So to me, that's not success. To me, is like, I'd have a bigger gym with all my friends and family and in places that I want to go to, that I like traveling to, and go visit them and make sure they're doing well.
So the plan is to open a few more gyms. Keep going. So, and wrapping up here as we're getting close on time here, but so where can people follow? And if you guys are if you're in New York, if you live in New York, if you're visiting New York, you have to make the stop, because it really is truly magical. I love the gym.
I appreciate that. So the Strength Club is the gym. So if you go to strengthclub.com, which cost me a fortune to buy that, strengthclub.com, you'll find the gyms. Strong New York, which is on September 26th this year. We rent out the Glass House, which is arguably one of the nicest venues in Manhattan that we rent out for a huge fitness and wellness event.
And if you're into fitness, like really into fitness, influencer or anything, or want to become an influencer, you got to be there. It's the who's who of the fitness community. Not only New York, it's now like the who's who's of the fitness community across the world.
We have a great list of people that we're going to announce pretty soon on who's going to be there and what they're talking about. So I'm very excited about that. And then the podcast, Strong New York Podcast. So everything is strong. If you look up Strong New York, that finally we're like the first thing that comes up. So,
and then your Instagram,
just at Kenny Santucci.
Yeah, which is always a good follow. You could have followed his bicep, his bicep injury.
I got to do a whole thing on this. Tomorrow I go see my doctor, and he's going to let me know what this all looks like moving forward. But I'm going to share the journey of, like, my arm's going to look like a fucking noodle soon because I haven't moved it in over a week. So that'll be
the last time you like fell a little out of the shape, and then you got like you filmed you're getting back ripped, and you got like absolutely just shredded.
Yeah, and that was during COVID.
Yeah,
right. Like I was just like, I'm done. I stopped drinking. I wasn't going out as much, and I'm like, shit, I'm starting to look pretty good. If I dial this up, I can look better. So that's my recommendation to people. Like the best I've ever felt was when I was the most, dedicated to myself. Yeah. When I get up in the morning, 5, 6, 7 a.m. and I'm at the gym, I feel my day's so much better.
Well, this was awesome. I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming on. Yes. And I can't wait to
thank you so much.
Can't wait to hit the gym.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you
guys.